Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming out. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I'm Sergeant Jim Holden. Obviously, I'm not in costume tonight for you. I want to welcome you. It's been a long time since we've met, and I'm sure we've got a lot to discuss. So we are on a pretty specific timeline tonight. With the good gracious of maybe with the school district, they've given us the facility through 8 o'clock. They obviously got to come in due to cleaning restrictions, so we want to move this along. We'll get to everybody and try to get every question asked that's out there. I want to do some introductions real quick before I get to the panelists. For those that may know them or may not know them, one of the MPOs in the 1st Precinct is Officer Jason Capayo. He's the one over in the corner. And where's my Wesley Bale? Officer Wesley Bale, hiding out by the door. Not the prosecuting attorney version. So, again, just some general housekeeping. If you got to get up to use the restroom, right across the pathway out this door is our restroom. Please don't roam the hallways. Security doesn't like it. You guys are out and about in the building. So, without further ado, we'll get the program started. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. It's the biggest print I can make it for you guys. So if you can't, if you want to shuffle around, move chairs, I am quite all right with that. So tonight, first and foremost, let me get some slides moving along here. Our panelists who are behind me this evening is Councilwoman Shalonda Webb. Try to see everybody's way. The prosecutor, Wesley Bale, version. He's running a little late. He'll be with us very shortly, and we'll give him an opportunity to speak. Our chief, Ken Gregory, is up here. Did you wave, Chief, so that you see? All right. Not to put you on the spot. Next, I have Captain Tim Cunningham, who I think we all know. And then Public Works Manager, and I know he's in the crowd somewhere, Marcellus Spike. Where are you? He's over here on the side. Next up, where's Shantae, our problem property specialist? She's the one walking around with the basket trying to get you to drop some cards for questions. Transportation, Mr. Adam Spector, up here at the front table, and a county council representative, Stephen Capizzi. I hope I pronounced that right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the mic over to some of our panelists, and I will have some introduction. And my apology, I saw you hiding over here. Dr. Witherspoon is with us tonight. He's next to the councilwoman and the chief. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me?
Oh, yeah.
You don't mind if I take my mask down just a little bit so we can see each other, so you can see my whole face and all the joy with my smile to see each and every one of you out here tonight. It is such an honor and a privilege to serve you all as a servant leader, as the councilwoman for this district. I can't believe it's almost been a year that I've been serving in this capacity, but there's so much work to be done. So thank you. Thank you all for caring and for taking the time out and making this a priority to be here tonight. I stand in partnership with the St. Louis County Police Department, Chief Gregory, who's always there for me, covering me when I don't even know I need covering, and Captain Tim Cunningham. I say he is my partner, don't tell my husband, but he is my partner because we are working hand in hand to address the situation of crime in our community. We have to talk honestly and openly about it. We have to take ownership of our stuff, and then we need to work together collaboratively to come up with a solution. It is not all a law enforcement situation or responsibility. It is all of us. Excuse my layman terms or my lameness, but we all have skin in this game because we all care about North County. I'm here serving in this capacity because I care about our district in North County. Not for a title, not for a check, but to make North County better because we are full of potential. And we're at a time where we can make transformational changes. But it takes all of us. I tell people that call office all the time, I can't do this by myself. I can't keep my head on the swivel to see and hear everything. So I am grateful when you all call the office. I have to make sure that I have Shantae, the one you all talk to the most when you call, raise her hand. Shantae, the famous Shantae, infamous Shantae Foreman Young, who takes good care of all of us. You and me included, right? And so I just want to make sure you know we're in partnership as well to serve you all in this community to the best of our ability. And we don't mind being told we can do things better. We can't grow if we can't hear and take criticism. As long as you tactful, as long as you tactful. And that's what I'm going to ask of you tonight. I know we have concerns. I know we want to talk about the elephant in the room. And we want to walk away with real feedback. We may not have all the solutions, but real feedback. But I am asking the D4 family, which I always refer to us as District 4 and D4 family, that we be tactful, respectful, and remember, whoever stands up here, they are someone's father, husband, son, just as you are. And you wouldn't want anyone to disrespect your family, okay? So I have to get that out of the way. So everybody still okay with me on that? Okay. So without further ado, I want to thank all of the officers that are here, all of the law enforcement agencies that are here, in all capacities that they serve. Them being here is not because of who I am, it's because of who you are. And that you share your voice openly and hold all of us accountable. So without further ado, I will pass the microphone. Thank you all again for coming out. I know you all know how to contact me, but just in case you don't, Shantae has some business cards, and we'll make sure we have an opportunity to share the information with you as well. Thank you. Oh, I gotta do this. Because Mr. Bale got me, he was at an event, and he said that I was the Aretha Franklin and Luther Vandross, we was in the crowd together. So, this is my turn to do this to him. So since you late, you want to come up here and say, I might be out of order, but I had to.
And I will, and just to remember your words about being respectful and being somebody's son. My mom was right here in the front row. So you want that smoke? I do apologize. We had a hearing that went wrong at the office, but it sounds like I got here right on time. But it's good to see everyone, Chief, Pastor, and it's good to see you all. This is such an important part of public service, is being transparent, answering questions, being available, and that's why we don't hesitate to do this. Chief and I just did one in South County just a week or so ago, and I will try to forget the fact that I'm in Hazelwood Central because I'm a proud Hazelwood East grad, but I'm going to try to put that to the side and have a constructive conversation. But no, happy to be here, and I'm going to pass it back to you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Chief, you want to say a few words?
Good evening. Good evening. First thing I want to do is say a big thank you to Mr. Greg Porter. Mr. Greg Porter has gotten all of you all here tonight to discuss the concerns that you have, okay? Not being funny about it, Greg emails me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Seriously, he does. 2 o'clock in the morning, he emails me about the concerns that are going on up here in North County, to make sure that you all are aware of what's going on, to make sure that we are aware of what's going on, and we're here to try to help you with a lot of these situations. Now, I have a lot of personal stake here in North County. I've been living here in North County since 1974. I live just down the street around the corner, so I hear what you guys are concerned about. I see the speed report, I hear the gunshots at night, and it concerns me just as much as it concerns you. And my job is to make sure that something's done about that. You know, when you live in a neighborhood, you know, one of the things that you care about the most is the safety in the neighborhood. And if you're not safe in your neighborhood, then you don't want to be there my job is to make sure that you get as much safety as you possibly can. So that's why we're here tonight. We're here to try to answer some of the questions that you have, not just answer some of the questions that you have, but try to resolve some of the questions and concerns that you have. So I brought a bunch of my guys back here with me. If there's anything in particular that I can't answer for you, or that Captain Cunningham can't answer for you, maybe they can, depending on what the topic is. So they're there to lead them, and again, it's a pleasure being here. Again, concerned about North County. We want to see North County grow and get better. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We're going to go ahead and the folks on the panel that's remaining are here for questions, so we can, if anything comes up, we can have them address it. I'm going to move the program along and I'll turn it over to Captain Tim Cunningham.
Thank you very much. To echo some of the statements already made, thank you for being here. Okay, that's the first step in all this. Last time was February of 20, it was about 15 degrees out, and we met at another location. And then the last year and a half has just been what it is. So thank you very much for showing up. The chief mentioned something about Mr. Porter. There was an email, and he told me not to take it personally, but I did a little bit, that said Tim Cunningham doesn't care about North County, and that town hall meetings are a waste of time. That's not true. You know, there's a reason why you're here. You have concerns about your community, and we're here to address it. And it's not just the police department. You look around, the chiefs here, you got lieutenant colonels in the crowd, you got captains, lieutenants, sergeants, and officers. We're here, okay? So any concerns you have, please reach out to us. The community outreach is here as well, a huge resource that we're going to be leaning on heavily, okay? County Council's Office, Department of Transportation, everything, Public Works. Thank you so much for being here. That's a big deal, so thank you. Oh, let's do it. Okay, so Mr. Porter sent out an email to a lot of people, and this is the same thing when I first got up here as well. Same thing that was where I was before in West County Precinct. Two biggest concerns: speeding. And it's not up there, but I'll talk about it.
It's up there at the top.
No, it's the speeding, but it's also we never see the police in our subdivisions. Okay. I do have a solution for that, all right? And I'll get to that shortly. But up here, a lot of the questions that have come up, and I'm sure they're in the basket as well. Speeding through neighborhoods, speeding on 367, speeding on 270, Halsbury, Lindbergh, pick a street in North County. Doesn't matter. You know, pick your street. Something's got to be stopped with that, all right? Trust me, the officers see it. I'm bringing up every resource I can to North County. We have a highway safety unit. You might see them on 367 a lot. You're going to see them more, okay? You just have to schedule what they're doing for the next 6 months. Because that's become a racetrack. You know, what, a week and a half ago, had some kids going to high school right there north of, just south of Lindbergh, where that overpass little thing is, kind of looks like a weird thing. They went into the median, they jumped that creek, almost made it, but they didn't make it. Hit the bank, and then rolled down towards the creek. So, you know, we got 3 juveniles, 2 of which were seriously injured. We had to shut down 367 and airlift one of the passengers to the hospital. So we have to slow those cars down. Unlicensed vehicles. This is a major concern. I can tell you right now, it's not just North County. It's all over the place. It's all the state of Missouri. That's another conversation. You know, if you buy a car, especially, and I'm just going to say this because they're all over, the Dodge Chargers. If you can afford a Dodge Charger, you can afford to get a license plates for that, pay the sales tax. That's, you know, that's something we got to look into as well. And one of the questions, what are you doing about that? I'll get to some of the stats. we are writing tickets in this precinct, okay? That is one of the tickets we're writing as well. It's not like that went away. Commercial vehicles in the neighborhood, that is another concern. Illegal parking, whether it's in the neighborhood as well, vehicles in yards, unattached trailers, derelict vehicles. You know, you drive through some of the subdivisions and, you know, all four tires on a car are flat. It's been in an accident, it's been sitting there for months. What are we gonna do about that? And then the illegal unlicensed businesses and residential areas and roadside commercial lots. We do respond to those. And with the health department as well, as far as some of the unlicensed businesses that are, you know, selling produce and that kind of stuff. Hopefully I'm gonna touch base on most of these. A lot of the illegal parking, we do have an NPO unit, January of 20, when I was assigned to North County Precinct, we had the town hall early February. And whoever was there, what was the conversation about? NPOs. Because I didn't have any when I got there. And then you just told me, when are you gonna have them? And I told you, March 1st. And we had 3 as of March 1st. We currently have 2. One of the officers got injured in a foot pursuit and is still out. And yeah, it's been a year and a half. Okay. A little bit about the North County Precinct. We are the largest precinct as far as staffing in the county. There's 1 captain, that's me. We have 3 outstanding lieutenants, 11 sergeants, also outstanding, and 92 officers. That's who does the work. And then 1 professional staff member. Okay, so officers that are available to ride beats, to ride your neighborhood, to respond to calls. I have 71 of them. I also have 7 officers assigned to the city of Blackjack, 6 are going to be assigned to school resource officers. I have 3 precinct detectives that do intelligence work. They do a lot of the violent crime in the precinct. They do follow-ups on that. And then I have the 2 neighborhood policing officers as Sergeant Holden already introduced. Okay, currently, we are on 10-hour shifts in North County. Actually, the entire department is for patrol. As of December 26th, we're gonna go to 12-hour shifts, okay? And let's go back one more. With the 10-hour shifts, you're gonna hear this word a lot tonight, staffing. And I'm gonna bring up Executive Director Carl Becker here in a second. Staffing, recruitment, retainment is an issue. I think I was looking at something for 2020, and all the officers were picking their vacations for 2021. 31 of those officers that were there in 2020, December, they're not in my precinct anymore. Now, a lot of them moved on, got promoted, sergeants, specialized units, but a high number of them have quit, resigned, got out of law enforcement. We've had a handful go to other police departments. That's a lot of employees to leave in 11 months, essentially. Some of the disadvantages of the 10-hour shifts is we start seeing staffing issues. They require 25% more officers than the other shifts, and it increases operational costs when staffing shortages occur. Now, let's go to the 12s. Effective December 26th. You know, a couple of things on that. The officers have more time off. One of the things that we've established in the past year with the county police department is the wellness unit, and that was a long time coming. You know, we need a resource, an outlet for the officers that are struggling with things, and it's kind of a peer type of group. The biggest thing that you're going to want to hear tonight is we'll never be short on staffing, okay? Every beat in North County precinct is going to be staffed. Now, on the perfect day to exclude any training or time off, we'll have extra cars as well. What am I going to do with those extra cars? Well, I'll do what's needed. Okay, and part of that is taking a handful of those extra cars and having a two-officer unit, 2 officers in 1 car, right in that area. Okay, we need that. North County needs that in a lot of areas. The other cars, it's kind of what we've been talking about to start things off. Speeding through neighborhoods. Visibility of officers driving down your street. That's what they're doing. Okay? That's what they're going to be doing all day. Now, knowing the precinct, and today was a perfect example, it gets busy. It gets real busy. They're going call to call, and I will show you that here in a few minutes. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think the officer's looking forward to it. 12 hours in North County precinct. I mean, we're going to be taxed. There's no doubt about it. But it's our best solution right now. Okay. Here we go. So, this is these numbers are from January 1st to essentially October 31st. So radio dispatch assignment, what that means, an officer's in their car, and they get a call, radio call, to show up to a call for service. Doesn't matter what it is, accident on the highway, domestic, shooting, whatever it might be. This number blew me away, ladies and gentlemen, because that's 104,000 calls for service in 10 months. I can check my math. That's 10,400 calls a month. It's 347 calls per day. Now, there's days where maybe it's 300. Anybody working in the first precinct currently can tell you there's also days where there's at least 500. A couple Tuesdays ago, we had 3 shootings in a matter of probably 4 hours. 1 homicide was a result of that. We had a cutting that day. We had domestic violence calls coming out right and left. We had an armed robbery that started off day shift at early 6 o'clock in the morning. And all the other calls that came out. So there are days where and if you can't see it, an officer's average time spent on the radio call is 41.9 minutes. And then the officers all are also doing on-view stuff, whether that's traffic, speeding. They observe something that they need to take action on. 25,000 of those already observed. And then you'll see that number here, like wondering why is that 43.5 minutes? Well, some of those result in an arrest. And so they have to take the prisoner down to Clayton, book them in, and then get back to the precinct and start answering calls again. They are busy. They've written over 12,000 reports in that time. 1,070 felony arrests, 1,124 misdemeanors, 89 curfew, which is also a good thing that we have officers on the midnight shift out there getting some of the young kids back to their houses. Summons in lieu is basically, summons is in lieu of an arrest. Traffic citations, almost 4,000 tickets have been written. So when you talk about unlicensed vehicles, speeding, that kind of stuff, they are still working, all right? That's a lot of tickets. And I wish I had numbers from other years, which we could probably get at some point. But that's very proactive. Guns seized. That's just in the precinct, 326. All right? I can do some quick math as well, but that's over 1 a day. DWIs, so they are still doing traffic enforcement, 21 of those. And then the accidents also as well. That's a huge concern and takes up a lot of time as well. One of the things that kind of came about to address the violent crime was the Violent Crime Initiative. What that means to you is we have a lot of resources. We have for special operations. We have Bureau of Drug Enforcement. And there's also some federal agencies attached to that as well. So they come in, they spend a lot of time in North County. That's where they can get most of their work done. I like to throw numbers out. They have already seized over 285 guns in the North County area. They also work in Jennings a lot as well. But a lot of times it'll spill over into North County Precinct and our stuff will spill into Jennings. That's over 600 guns. Okay? They've also made 425 arrests. They're not out there every day. Okay? We get them as much as we can. But that is that's a lot of arrests. That's a lot of guns. Yet we still have a lot of guns out there, a lot of shots being fired. And we'll get to that in a second. Actually, okay. So this slide, I'll explain some of it if you can't see it. Homicide, murder, and non-negligent manslaughter. The number you see is 24. I can tell you right now the number in North County is 35. So that is an increase over last year. We have not had a homicide in North County since October 26th. This is what. 13 of those 35 victims were a result of domestic violence. And 35 of those total victims, those happened on 28 events. That's where you have multiple people killed, murdered on one incident. That is a problem as well. Okay. Hang on one second. Aggravated assault. You can kind of see. I'll tell a funny story. It's not funny. It's funny to me. So the chief has command staffs. All right. And so I get up there and I say, well, we are up on homicides. But everything else, for the most part, the aggravated assault, down from last year. Robbery, down. Burglary, down. Burglary was down again last year. I know we had some burglary detectives here as well. It's 2 years in a row going down. Larcenies are down. Motor vehicle theft, down 37.3%. So I say that. And we go in order. Precinct 1, North County. And then everybody else's numbers are going through the roof. South County, Afton Precinct, have so many more vehicle thefts than what North County has. So these are good things for me. I'm not sure that she considers good things about South County. So that is a good sign as well. The chief and some other business owners and some politicians as well were on the news yesterday talking about a lot of vehicle break-ins. And we're honestly not seeing that in North County. So what they're doing in some of the other areas of the county, if you want a business to say you have 50 or you have 80 people, employees for a night shift, a factory type job, and they come out to work at the end of the shift and 40 of those are broken into, that's a problem. We're not seeing that a whole lot in North County, so again, that's good for us. Let's go to the next one. Shots fired. Some of you have heard me talk about this. And the numbers are staggering. Okay? Last year we finished with about 20,000 rounds fired that were captured by the top two bullet points on here. Spanish Lake and Castle Point each have towers, shots fired towers. So when somebody's out starts shooting a gun, it records. Okay? The officers can hear it. The dispatchers can hear it. Gives them an idea of where they're going, and the technology will tell the officers if this shots were fired in the back of a house, the side of a house, middle of the street, behind the building, so they know where they're going. As of October 6th, Glasgow Village also we have a shot spotter tower there as well. 177 incidents. 25 days. 543 rounds fired. Okay? We'll be over 20,000 rounds again this year. We don't count New Year's Eve, because I'm telling you right now, there's 4,000 to 5,000 rounds fired on New Year's Eve. Those rounds got to come down somewhere. I've said it before. one of my officers on midnights tried to find a safer spot. A round went through the roof of his car. Didn't hit him, still hit the car. Told me it sounded like a sledgehammer hit the roof of his car. Just to give you an example, let's see if this will work. That was close to 100 rounds fired at a funeral home on Redmond in April at 1:03 in the afternoon, because I was standing on the parking lot behind the precinct hosting a roll call, and then that call comes out. Actually, no, that was a different one. This one was at 10 o'clock in the morning at the funeral home on Redmond. So I go to that scene, there's shell casings everywhere. Fortunately, only, no, it's not fortunately, only one person got hit 3 times. Did not kill him. But there was a lot of people on that parking lot at one time. A lot of property damage. I think the Hertz, windows blown out of it. The building windows were blown out as well. So these aren't, you see some of the age in the crowd. These aren't, the smoke wagon pistol handguns, 38 special. These are semi-automatic rifles, semi-automatic pistols, and then let's go a step further. It's not the magazine that's got 10 rounds in it. A lot of these guns have got the 30-round magazines. Okay, that's what you're hearing on that audio. Rapid fire. It's a problem that somehow, somebody, we can go back to the gun scene. I mean, where is everybody getting these guns if we've taken over 600 guns off the street? Where is everybody getting ammunition to pump 20,000 rounds in there back-to-back years? So, I will say that Violent Crime Initiative, a week ago, they have resources to disable cars. I'll leave it at that. They were able to disable a car, 3 individuals in the car, 2 wanted for murder, and the other one was also for violent crime as well. So they do amazing work. All the resources and the specialized units on this department. That Tuesday I talked about with the 3 shootings, the 1 homicide, the cutting, the robberies. If we did not have, and I'll talk about our SRU, our special response team, if they weren't working in the precinct that day, I mean, what do you do? You're going to call the call. There was 14 officers on that homicide scene, because that got a little bit heated, because there were some neighbors involved, and then there were some other disturbances. Somebody's driving through the crime scene tape, jump out with guns. They took no rounds were fired on that one. So the resources that the department provides to all precincts, but we're talking about North County tonight, it helps us out tremendously. All right, some of the derelict and abandoned vehicles in your neighborhoods. These are numbers that we've tagged. All right, so sometimes you see the stickers on these cars that have been sitting there forever. We want to gain compliance with that vehicle owner. Talk to them, hey, this, something's got to be done like this. And last year, 72% of the time that worked. This year, we're at 68%. Those are good numbers. We've towed over 110 cars in the last 2 years. Again, staffing, okay? Those 10,000 radio calls a month, that's tough to assign an officer. In 2020, we actually, especially during the pandemic, that was our focus. We had a lot of extra officers, extra manpower, and that's what they did. Now, tow yards, they don't want to come out and tow 10 cars a day. They don't have room on our lots, but we still met our threshold, I think, every day. Staffing, we're short, all right? Quick story, off topic. So my mom's in the hospital for the last week and a half. And so I go up the last night, and you walk in, and there's a nurse's name on the dry erase board. So last night it was Lydia. And then below that, it says tech, nurse's aide or whatever. There's no name. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. There's no tech. So there's one nurse taking care of, I don't know how many patients. The one I care about is my mom. So she comes in to change the bed. She can't do it by herself. So it's my mom. So I do it, and we're talking, and she says, this nurse is like, we're having problems, keeping people. We're having problems hiring people. I'm working my 4th 12-hour shift in a row for overtime. She's like, it's great money, but I'm ready to go home. But she did say to my mom, you have me for 45 minutes and I'm not leaving here. So, could she have done that job by herself? No. But she had nobody else to call, so that's where I stepped in. Staffing and recruiting and retainment. He's in a deep conversation right now. Mr. Becker, you want to talk about some of the things the department's doing? And then I'll come back on and we'll go over a few more things that we're doing in the North County Precinct. Mr. Carl Becker.
Thanks, Captain. I'm Carl Becker. I'm the HR Director for the Police Department. Good to meet. Last time I talked about recruiting and retention, when the chief asked me, I think I talked for about 50 minutes. He told me I don't have that much time tonight. So I'm going to keep it as brief as possible. What I'm going through is really just the tip of the iceberg with respect to recruiting and retention. So just to give you some quick numbers, right now we have 972 authorized commission spots. We have about 340 professional staff. That's myself and other civilians that support the police officers. As Captain Cunningham said, the police officers doing all the real work. We have 897 right now actual commissioned officers, and that adds up to 75 vacancies. We expect that vacancy number in early 22 with retirements and so forth to be at about 100. So as you can see just by those numbers, we have quite a challenge ahead of us with respect to recruiting. But the first thing you want to do before you go out and recruit, you want to retain the good people that you have. And one way to do that is through pay. And I'm very happy to say that we've had great support from Councilwoman Webb and the rest of the county council with respect to pay. Both the police officers and the sergeants have new CBAs that go for the next 3 years with guaranteed pay raises and other good benefits and so forth. So that's one way to keep your employees happy, to have retention. The other way, another way, and again there's many, I'm only going to touch on a few, is to treat your employees as well as possible. We're a big department, we're a great department. We have a lot of opportunities, K9, SWAT, Detective Bureau, community engagement. We have a lot of things to do for opportunities for people to move around. And one way that we try to take care of our employees, and we're kind of on the cutting edge in the nation on this, is we have a wellness unit. It's headed up by Lieutenant Roach, and who's been actually working on the concept of a wellness unit for over 10 years now. We just got it actually official in the last year. And a striking statistic is the average citizen will come across about 1.5 average critical incidents in their lifetime. And a police officer, the average police officer will come across 800 critical incidents in their careers. So what's a critical incident? Obviously it's a homicide. It's the tragic accident that I'm sure everybody has read about or seen on television down on Kiefer Creek where 3 kids were killed and 2 were seriously injured. So the way we deal with that is we have a critical incident debrief team, and we're actually meeting with a professional counselor and the officers that were first on the scene that saw that tragedy and have to deal with that for the rest of their lives. They're getting the attention they need. It starts right away from the incident, and then the debriefing involves a professional counselor that's going to help guide them through that. And then there's care given after that too. So we have a very robust wellness program, and like I said, that's cutting edge. With respect to recruiting, again, I could go on for a long time, but there's two goals. One is to attract the most qualified and diverse candidates possible. And the other goal is to promote the police department in the most positive way possible. Like I said, there's a great police department. After we break from this, if you have an opportunity to talk to some of these officers, they're not only great officers, they're great people, and I'm proud to be able to work with them and represent the police department. So some of the recruiting things are we're targeting college campuses. We're hitting the criminal justice majors very heavily, and we're utilizing other more long-term recruiting goals. We have a Bureau of Community Engagement now that includes the Community Outreach Unit, Police Athletic League, an organization called Cable Career and Pathways Through Law Enforcement. So it's a conduit for a kid to move into a law enforcement job, and not just a commission job, but also professional staff. We have a cadet program. We're building our Explorer program. The West County Explorer Post is just huge. We want to make other Explorer posts out there just as large. And then every one of these officers here, from the chief on down, they're all recruiters too. I see Colonel Sack back there. He's in charge of the Division of Criminal Investigation. He was walking out of a QT one day, struck up a 15-minute conversation with a gentleman, and his daughter ended up applying at our police department. So that's a perfect example of an individual being a recruiter, representing the department and selling it also. And we have various community events. We've had 2 Women's Day in policing. We have other community events where not just the recruiters, but the community outreach officers attend the programs, and we're working at that in order to improve our diversity. So what I've just been talking about is just the tip of the iceberg. Like I said, I could go on for a long time. I say this often, there are no home runs in recruiting. It's all singles, to use a baseball analogy. If anybody's got any ideas, I'm always happy to listen and talk about it with you. So thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. What's next? What do we have next? Okay, so we're also trying to get involved in the community a lot more than what we have been. COVID, we know what it did, okay? We, probably all tired of Zoom meetings. I know I met with a couple neighborhoods via Zoom, a couple face-to-face this past year, the past few months. We were able to spread out and get that done as well. And that's what we're doing. We're reconnecting the community. So, this town hall meeting, I'm hoping we have residents from all over North County, okay? There's issues in certain parts of North County that aren't issues in others. Other than speeding in neighborhoods and speeding all around the place. But there's other issues that can be identified and be addressed in a smaller subdivision meeting. Those are coming. We've already got the space reserved. We put that on there. But yeah, that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be with the neighborhood policing officers. I will be there as much as I can to talk about what you need, the needs of your subdivision, the needs of your area. Town hall meetings, I am more than happy to do this as much as I can. Gives me a chance to meet people as well. Coffee with a cop, I don't like coffee, but I will sit down with you, have soda or water. National Night Out, we didn't do that last year, obviously, or this year, really. And then the Citizens Police Academy, we're gonna get that back up and running again as well. Okay? A lot of issues from North County. I'll just say it. A lot of the issues, they stem from some of the apartment complexes, okay? People that don't have a vested interest in their property and what they do in that area. We need to start holding some of the apartment complexes liable for that. Okay, so that's what that's going to be. All right, what's the next one you got? Ethical Landlords Coalition. Officer Bakula and Officer Kapai are going to be educating me on this. Something new that we're going to be doing as well. And this is something that we were approached with today. The Faith in Blue organization, and I don't know enough to talk about it. Unless you want to talk about it, Sergeant Holden?
Just in a quick nutshell, hopefully everybody can hear me. It's a kind of a joint effort with the clergy. They'll hold events, we'll join events with them, we'll reach out to communities. There's a lot of these faith-based institutions have you can't hear me. Can we hear now? Okay. This is a joint effort with local clergy. It's throughout the department. This isn't a North County thing only. It's a way we can reach out with our chaplains, our pastors, and touch base with all these organizations, because a lot of folks go to church, worship, do the things, and that's a way for us to all work together. We can touch a lot of people's lives. Church groups, church organizations have a lot of resources available to help the community. So with the partnership that this organization brings, and it's in its infancy, it's just beginning through the department. We are all trying to reestablish things post-pandemic, as the captain just alluded to. The pandemic just did nightmarish things to us, trying to talk to the community. Now, we're coming out of it, people are getting more comfortable. That's what these organizations are going to do. We'll have events with them at their local establishments. And I think it's going to be a great thing, because we've used clergy in the past for different events. And it's just something that I think can touch a lot of people's lives. Obviously, I think we need some of that now, judging by the numbers and the crime that's going on in the area. So I will give this back to the captain.
Okay. It's a great idea, and hopefully we can get that thing going and have some positive results out of it. Okay. How are we doing this, by the way? You got it? Okay. I'm sure I'll be back up here at one point.
We're the two Shantays. I'm Shantae Young and Shantae Jameson. We just took over. So what we have done is put the questions in groups according to the departments that the question was asked. So we're going to go department by department. Some questions were duplicated. So if your specific question wasn't asked, your general question is in the question. We're going to try to move through this really quickly, because if you have follow-up questions, then we can take live questions from there, okay? All right. One of the questions was, will this PowerPoint be shared? And the answer is yes. I will be sending it. That's why we needed your email information. If you did not sign up, on your way out, please sign up with your name and email information. We'll share the PowerPoint. We are recording the video so that you can share it with your neighbors, and also look at it again. Sorry.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the questions, and then I'm going to have the panel answer. So I'm going to start to my far right with the Department of Transportation. Nope, Mr. Adam Spector. So the first question for the Department of Transportation is, what is being done about maintaining the circle turnaround at Bale and Old New Hall Ferry?
I think that as far as the maintenance goes, I mean, we're maintaining it in the same way that we do the rest of our streets, which obviously is less than everybody would like. I think that just comes back to staffing again. I know that we have a lot of open positions in our maintenance groups, which means that we don't get around to do things like cutting grass as often as we would like, because we've got those people that would be cutting the grass also trying to fill the potholes, which we also aren't getting to quite as quickly as we would like on some areas. So
And I'm not sure what the specific concern is with it, with the circle there at that location. So, the lighting, okay. And the issue, if I'm not mistaken, is there a light that's missing or was broken or something? Yeah, I think there was, I'll have to check on this because I know I've had that question come up before, and I think there was an issue with getting the equipment from the vendor. And so I'll have to follow up on that and see if that got resolved or where that's headed.
Okay, so now we'll move on to Mr. Wesley Bale's office, prosecutor's office. So there's just a general question about what is your office doing to address crime? But aside from the prosecution, are there any other programs that you all have?
And thanks for the question. So our philosophy is pretty straightforward. With serious and violent crime, we're going to aggressively prosecute those cases. And we have a data analyst, which this office never had before, because I think it's important to understand that if you're not tracking and evaluating your data, you don't know if what you're doing has the impact that you want it to have. And so that was very important for us. And when we compared 2018 to 2020, for example, although we were law enforcement issued about the same number of crimes in those 2 years. We issued 41% more domestic violence cases, 51% more homicides, and 90% more assaults. So that side we are taking very seriously. We're going to continue to do it. The men and women of our office, several of whom are here. Linda, I see you. But then on the other side, we understand that there are a large bucket of people, and oftentimes we see these individuals in North County who have not been charged with any serious or violent offenses, but we know that our jail system is not always the best at rehabilitation. And so we have those low-level offenders, not violent offenders. We're not talking about card thieves and things of that nature. We're talking about low-level offenders, primarily simple possession, things of that nature, opiates, who just need help and treatment. So we've aggressively expanded our diversion programs so that we can give these individuals the help that they need. And this is not rocket science. You give people the support they need, they're going to thrive. And so we have a bucket of about 1,200 people who are either being evaluated by our diversion programs, are currently being treated or successfully treated. And in Missouri, about 1 year after being released from prison, our recidivism rates are about 45%, 45 to 50%, meaning half the people are reoffending on a new charge and going back to prison. 10 years around the country, we're talking about 80% recidivism rates. Of those individuals, that bucket of 1,200 people that we have that are in our diversion program, we're talking about an 8% recidivism rate. We're talking about 92% success rates. So what we came in and what we talked about was we're going to aggressively prosecute serious and violent crimes along with our law enforcement partners, Chief Gregory and other municipal police departments. And on the other side, for those who deserve it, we want to expand our services and give them the help that they need, and the data is showing that we're doing it.
Okay, the next set of questions is for the police department. However, I'm gonna start with Chief Gregory because I think some of these questions are a little more fitting for your position as the Commander-in-Chief. So the first question is, when is the new first precinct being built?
Thank you. I was just speaking about this last week at our committee of the whole meeting. This is on the plans to build not just the first precinct, but also the third precinct. It should have been started by now. But what happened with the bidding process is that the Public Works did not secure enough minority bidders, okay? So with that happening, they had to cancel the project, cancel the building of the new precincts until they did the rebidding to obtain more minority builders to do this. One of the other things that they tried to do during the building of the process of trying to build these precincts was that they were going to bid the precincts separately to whoever took the bid. And the companies weren't making enough money if they did it separate. So our suggestion to them, why don't you bid them as one, try to get a good company to build both precincts. So that's what they're in the process of doing. Again, it started out with the fact that they did not have enough minority bidders to respond to the bids. And the word is that they're supposed to break ground probably about April, March of this year, of next year.
I have one more question for you, Chief. What is the department doing as a whole to address the drug problem?
We have our drug unit is out off-site. We have approximately 67 officers working drugs. They're on the task force, and we have not had the issues with drugs that we've had in the past as far as acquiring drugs, making drug arrests. But they're out there on a constant basis, doing whatever they can to deal with the drug process, and they've done a pretty good job of dealing with that.
And then the last question for the police is going to be for Captain Cunningham. So you off the hook, Chief, for now. Captain Cunningham, so there are residents who live in Florissant, but they live in unincorporated Florissant. So they kind of feel like, there's not enough police presence. So they want to know, what are you all doing to increase police presence in the unincorporated area of Florissant?
Okay, that's a good question. That's kind of what I touched on earlier when we're going to these 12-hour shifts. That is part of the precinct, unincorporated, whether it's close to Florissant, close to Belltown, neighbors close to Moline, pick whatever municipality borders the unincorporated precinct. So, yeah, that's my plan, is to get officers in your neighborhoods and for you to see them. Listen, I'm the police. I live in a municipality in West County. If I'm opening my garage door and walking out early in the morning and I see the police car drive by, that makes me feel good, even though I'm the police. I would assume that gives you a good feeling as well. The only time that you see the police should not be for them responding to a call down your street, going fast or what have you. That's not the goal there. Again, I'm not going to use the staffing. It's a valid excuse, but that's important, okay, for everybody in this room. And for everybody in this room that's not here, is to see the police more often. So I don't want to wait till December 26th to do that. So a long time ago, when I was a young man, this is a very long time ago, an officer, I remember we were at a roll call down in the Afton precinct, and you become the police because you want to arrest bad people. So the particular beat I had, the east end of that beat was where you did a lot of work. I focused on that area really, really hard because I wanted to make good arrests and what have you. This old crusty sergeant, which that's now me, but I'm the captain, said, do me a favor, drive through a neighborhood that you've never been in that's in your beat. Drive through it. And so I did. And I was a little bit amazed by the reaction from the neighbor who was like, hey, what are you doing here? Is there a call? I'm like, no, just driving through. So they appreciate that. So I'm working on that.
Thank you. I just want to add to that, in addition to the first precinct, the department also has the new community outreach unit. They are back there. If you all would stand so people can see who you all are, the Lieutenant Durham. They also have been charged to do more community engagement and have more of a presence in the community, so you should be seeing more of them as well. The next set of questions will be for Councilwoman Webb. The first question is about Jamestown Mall. What is the plan for Jamestown Mall? I know you've had some meetings about that, but just to kind of reiterate.
No, get away from that. I know I don't. No, and I don't want to get away from that. So Jamestown Mall, let's bring us current. So earlier this year, there was an interest to build an industrial park in our community, and you all said no. And I understood that no, because we wanted to build an industrial park, however you want to say it, a truck stop, in your backyards, in the middle of these bedroom communities, and that was not acceptable, and I acted accordingly. So after stopping the industrial park from being built, what is the next step? The next step, I just want it torn down. So that is what we're currently working on. So there needs to be funding to do that, and I'm not putting all of our eggs in one basket. I'm looking at every, I'm pulling on every level to get that revenue and those resources. So I gotta go and beg at the federal level, if I gotta beg the governor at the state level, and even at the local level with our county executives, that is exactly what I'm doing. Working in partnership with the Port Authority, and also working with the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. So the next step, they have already put an abatement RFP out, and they've been working through that. They've also been doing a feasibility study, footnote. I'm like, we've had a lot of feasibility studies. We do not need another feasibility study. We can leverage off of what we've done in the past, let's just do that. So they're working to make that happen. I've also been told that I'm asking for a lot, because I feel like a lot of this can be worked in parallel. It doesn't have to be serial. One thing has to wait till this completes the next. Let's do as much as we can, because we've been waiting a very long time. So next step is actually to get an RFP out for demolition. So hopefully that will be coming out soon. Simultaneously, unlike what has been shared with us, there are developers, local, regional, and outside of the state that is interested in developing in North County. So please don't believe that. People want to come to North County. They see the potential in developing in North County. And so that is what I am currently working on. And I'm working transparent and with as much visibility as possible. So anytime a developer comes to me, I send them to the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership and say, they have a plan. Please share this with Mr. Rodney Krim and his team. And in fact, we have a North County Coalition meeting tomorrow for development. So next step after demolition is then to have an opportunity for those potential developers to come before us. We're hoping that we can leverage off of the previous RFP, so we don't have to go through that process all over again. Listen, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Whatever we can reuse to expedite this process, that is what I want them to do. And so that is where we are. We've done the abatement, feasibility study. Now we'll work simultaneously with an RFP for demolition, and then simultaneously attracting those actual developers to come to North County. And I want this to be as transparent as we can possibly be. So we have a website. There's a county website for Jamestown Mall Development, and it's supposed to be a one-stop shop. So everything that's going on, we're putting it on that website. Shantae, I know we don't have it with us, but we're gonna share when we send out that PowerPoint so you know how to get to it. In addition to that, I have been begging, and I think I've knocked on enough doors now to send out some communication. And so, you may know, there's very little budget for me to communicate with you all directly outside of social media and the internet. Everybody does not have those tools. I want something that can come through the mail so you can see those data points of where we are with Jamestown Mall and what is next. Hopefully that communication will be going out by close of business this month. We've been waiting to put it together, not waiting, working and trying to get approval to do that since the summertime. So hopefully that will happen by close of business in November. I hope I answered that as thoroughly as possible. Next question?
All right, there's two more questions for you. Street lights in Spanish Lake, it's really dark over there. Is there any plans to install additional street lights?
Yes, ma'am. And so the woman who asked the question should have answered the question. Why? Because she has set the model up in Castle Point to create a street light district for them to get lighting in their area. And we want to mimic that, again, reuse and get that set up for Spanish Lake. And so Shantae Jameson, would you like to elaborate on that process?
So So we're working with the Department of Planning. It definitely is a process, and the Spanish Lake residents, I have been in contact with them, and I am working with them to develop this streetlight district. It's not a quick process, it's not an easy process, but we are definitely working diligently to get that done, and after that's done, then we'll have to talk to the Department of Revenue as it pertains to the tax that the residents will have to pay in order to pay the streetlight bill moving forward.
Thank you. See, I don't have all the answers, and I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I know somebody that knows somebody that knows the answers. So it's about working together.
Yes. And the last question, And the last question for you is, are there any plans to provide assistance in Glasgow Village? So we're doing stuff in Castle Point, we're doing stuff in Spanish Lake, we're doing stuff in unincorporated Florissant, but what about Glasgow Village?
So Glasgow Village, you are not forgotten. I have spent a lot of my focus this year on Castle Point to model some of the things. So I've worked with the police department in partnership to do community days there, vaccination days there. We worked on the empowerment house with the Ethical Society of Police. All of us coming together, and we want to replicate that in Glasgow, the Glasgow area as well. What I will need, and I met with Miss Sandy once, and I've even walked through your neighborhood once as well, late in the summer, to try to see where those issues at, like that house that had the tree that fell through 5 years ago and is still sitting there. Looking at all of those issues throughout Glasgow and coming up with a plan. I took the opportunity at Castle Point to identify and create programming that can be replicated with similar issues in other areas like Glasgow. So now we've had a model, we have some lessons learned, things I can do better, things I can partnership with other departments to do better, so then we can bring something forth for Glasgow. But Miss Sandy, I can't remember the other lady's name out of Glasgow. Katina. But those are the two that we met with and we did the walkthrough with them late this summer, so to initiate these coming forth in the first quarter of 2022. So you're not forgotten, and we're gonna make sure we hit all of our communities, even working more with our subdivisions, because I feel like that is a gap as well.
And there was a question out here about communication regarding these type of meetings, but I'll answer that. So, they are posted on social media, and they are posted, or we're gonna try to get it posted more like on the county website, and they're also posted on the police's website. I know everybody may not have access to the internet, and so we're gonna have to discuss alternatives because it can get very expensive to try and mail out things to the residents, and then a lot of stuff ends up just coming back to us because there's some disconnect between the addresses we have and the addresses that the post office has. So we don't want to waste money and we don't want to waste time, and we want to make sure you all get the information. So please bear with us, and if you know about these meetings, tell a neighbor to tell a neighbor to tell a neighbor so we can get a good turnout.
We're gonna do two more things about that. Additionally, Councilman Webb has a YouTube channel. I'm gonna need everybody to subscribe to it because we could have live streamed, but we don't have enough subscribers. When we took your information for a reason. We have a database of folks that we send information out to. When she took office, there was nothing. I mean, we didn't have any sort of way to get in contact with people. The budget doesn't allow for us to send out mail, and so we've been working diligently. A lot of folks in here got an email from me to attend this event, and so if you subscribe to her channel, we can live stream from her YouTube channel, and then she has another announcement as well. And we will put you in our database because you put down your name and email address, and we'll send out emails. We're not gonna spam you, we're just gonna send you important information. Come on, Councilwoman, you got something you want to say?
So I'm gonna take responsibility of the YouTube channel because I am not a television person, and so Shantae wants to do these videos and I feel awkward. So I'm working on that. So that's not on you for not subscribing, it's on me for not doing more. Secondly, I will be launching, and I know it took some time, but I think it was well worth the work. IT did a phenomenal job, making sure I had the latest and greatest. So I will be launching a newsletter that will be connected to the actual county website. But this newsletter is going to be interactive. And so few months ago, I put out a survey monkey and asked you all to sign up and stuff. We're gonna do it all at one stop. I'm a one-stop shop type shopper. I shop at Walmart, forgive me. But I like to get my groceries and get my clothes and everything else at one shop. The same thing is what I want you to have access to. So you don't have to be fumbling around looking for stuff. One-stop shop. The newsletter launches this Friday. You'll be having an opportunity to work with me interactively, whether you want me to put out a resolution, whether you say, Shalonda, you didn't pay attention to what I said, I need you to focus on this. You'll be able to communicate with me directly through that newsletter. So I'm excited about that. I don't know how excited Shantae is about it, but I'm excited about it.
Okay, last but not least, we have the problem properties unit. Mr. Marcellus Spate is going to answer those questions. Many of you have questions about the vacant and abandoned houses. What is currently being done about that?
Thank you for this opportunity. What was the question again, Shantae? Well, I surmise that the individual that asked the question is really wanting to know, what are you going to tear down that house next to me, or the house down the street? What are you going to do about these vacant properties within our community? I really hear this a lot. It is a process. It's a painstaking process. I do feel the anguish in everyone's phone call that asks these questions. But that process is a long legal process. These houses did not come vacant overnight. And there is a due process that we must exercise. Now, we only have so much resources in which to tackle these properties. A vacant property is not necessarily a problem property. However, if gone unattended, they become problem properties. Therefore, they wind up, in my view, and my team would have to address those properties. And at the time that they're being addressed, there's nothing you can do with those properties in order to rehab them. A lot of them must be raised. And that's where the process comes in. Now, a lot of you here understand the process. You read the ordinance. You understand the ordinance as well as I do. However, you want action. And in order to more or less satisfy the challenge in which we have, it's going to take funding. I bring this up to anyone that asks, and it's not a scapegoat. It's not a way to say we can't do it because we don't have the funding or the manpower. It's just a fact. We have to go through a legal process which takes time. And even if we are given an order to demolish a property, we need the funding in which to do it. So when I came aboard, actually, I'm a building official, and the Properties Property Department, which was known as our Neighborhood Services to Property, came under my supervision. So we merged the two departments. There were some challenges on both sides of the house, but I had more of a handle on the code enforcement side. But we had to make some changes. Once I merged those departments together, the phone calls were the same phone calls as if we were still under the old regime. And this is where I felt that I'm going to have to really become a civil servant. Because what I'm hearing out there is nothing more than what I would want for myself. And that is, you pay your taxes, you say you're going to do something, and you want to see some action. So I took it upon myself to try and research where the outcry was coming from. And by doing so, I listened to every complaint. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, just listening to the community and what they are expecting of you and what they feel they deserve went a long way with quelling some of the outcry. And my department was more or less given a pat on the back for listening. By listening, I understood the dynamics behind what you have to live amongst. And I communicated what we are capable of doing and what we're not capable of doing. And now I'm glad to have a councilwoman that is willing to work together in a cohesive way to where we can solve a lot of problems and, by working together. So I'm happy to say that we are going to make some headway. I did apply for federal funding in which to raise some properties within St. Louis County. Those fundings have been approved. However, it's limited funds. So we have to take worst case basis. I know something may have sat next to you, adjacent to your property for many years, and just deteriorated before your eyes, but you may not be the first property on the list. But I assure you, Department of Public Works will address those properties. That's what we're doing about vacant property. I've drummed up some of the funding. Perhaps we'll get other funding to more or less address a lot more properties. But right now, my budget, I don't have the budget to raise properties that should be raised. And I'm not apologizing because it would not help in this situation because you're ready for some action. But I just told you what I'm able to do now. So we will be taking some properties down and trying to get rid of some of the vacant properties. You have to understand the dynamics on both sides of the house, our department, as well as how did the property or the structure become vacant. And some of you can explain that to your neighbor. And sometimes it's just as simple as an old family just aged, moved away, and willed the property to the kids, and then it just went downstream from there. And that next door neighbor wants to fight for their community, and that's who I'm listening to, and that's why we're trying to address these problems the best way we can. Oh, I talked too much.
Y'all saw me moving closer and closer. So I'm going to let Councilwoman Webb elaborate just a little bit more because there is a partnership there.
So thank you, Mr. Marcellus, and he's probably tired of me telling Shantae, calling him directly. We are working sincerely, and I say this all the time, and I'm very, very truthful about this. We don't need any more Band-Aid solutions, not in North County, not in anywhere in St. Louis County. We need real solutions, and I'm grateful for the partnership with Mr. Marcellus, and what we have done, about 5 months ago, myself, Mr. Marcellus from Public Works, from a person from the legal department, someone from, we did a bus tour, right, Steve, Mr. Marcellus? We did a bus tour. We had Human Services in there, Department of Health was with us, and we literally rolled through all of District 4, mostly concentrated in Castle Point and Glasgow Village and Spanish Lake, to identify those properties that are causing a lot of issues or are derelict. They need to be come down. Simultaneously, we rolled through South County as well because there's another large area of unincorporated. So my whole purpose of doing this is so we can see each other's area and we can collaborate and work together to get a real solution. Because whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of things that's happening in North County happens in South County. We have more things that are alike and different. So I invited Councilman Tracus, the councilperson from District 6, myself, and our staff, and then the members from the different departments. We rolled through both areas. I think we did 4 hours, maybe 6 hours, lunch in between. And we just literally, because you can talk a whole lot, but when you see it with your eyes, then you know, okay, this is not a number, this is a community, and look what's going on right next door, where a family's trying to raise their kids and let them play outside, and you got an abandoned house, and you know there's bad activities going on over there. So why do they get punished because we can't take care of this derelict property? Long story short, ever since then, we've been meeting every 2 weeks, right, Mr. Marcellus and Steve? Every 2 weeks talking about what department needs to do what ordinance we need to change, how much money, thanks to Mr. Marcellus, how much money is it going to take to tear down some of these houses that are going through the system, going through the loan process to get those torn down. And now we're at the point where we're formulating plans and we're trying to see what funding will be the better source. Is this something that ARPA can help us with? Is this something with the infrastructure bill can help us with? Or is there any other grants out there? But there is now an opportunity with resources to take care of some of these issues. Again, transformational change, not just status quo, not just a band-aid, but real solutions. And I've done that because everybody's come to the table. Mr. Steve came from the council office, Mr. Marcellus, the police department, I think Van Buren, is here. We had all of them here at the table together to say, how do we solve this? Not just put a Band-Aid on it, but how do we solve this to create safer, better looking communities? And so that is what we're doing. I know you don't hear a whole lot about it because it's behind closed doors, it is not flashy, but it's grinding work to figure out how do we fix this. And so thank you all again, those who come to the table and work with us, and hopefully we'll have something to present to you all about closed business this year. Hope that helped.
I hope so too. So as you all can see, it is a collaborative effort. It's not just the police department, it's not just Councilwoman Webb, it's not just the prosecutor's office. This requires all of the departments in St. Louis County to work together to address all of the issues that are plaguing our community. And I say our community because I am also a resident of North County as well. So what we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna take some additional questions, or questions that were not answered. So if you have something pressing that you wanna ask, please raise your hand, and we just ask that you make your questions brief because we want to get as many questions in as possible. And then for our panelists, we ask that you make your response brief, and we are going to time you because I believe in being decent and in order, amen? So we're going to make sure that we get out of here at the appropriate time. So let's see. I'll take you first.
Thank you. This is for the chief. First, Councilwoman Webb, I want to thank you. This is very informative. We sit in a high school of Hazelwood and SRO officers, school resource officers. I saw in the panel that there's still school resource officers right now in Riverview Gardens, but I'm hearing they may want you out. So, that's what I'm hearing. So, I would like you, Chief, whether you want to address it, how do we get school resource officers, how do we mend whatever broke between the school district and you, not you personally, the department? I've talked to Florissant, I've talked to the chief at Hazelwood. This is something that the community can mend if the leadership would be willing to.
Thanks, Robert. We had a number of meetings with the Hazelwood School District when they decided that they no longer wanted SROs there. And I can remember being on 2 myself. I think there were 3 Zoom meetings with them. And Hazelwood School District had a desire to train our officers on certain topics that they decided that they wanted. At the time that we had these meetings with them, they had no idea as to what they wanted these topics to be. At the time we had these meetings, they had no idea as to who was going to teach these topics. But they wanted us to sign a contract with them, all 3 police officers, that they were going to teach these topics. I think it was up to 10 hours of training for our particular officers. Now, our officers get a lot of SRO training, national SRO training, nationally recognized. And they all obviously get department mandated training on probably some of the issues that they were talking about, social justice type topics or whatever. But at the time, they didn't have it. They couldn't tell us what they wanted. It's unfortunate that they did want us there. And I think our SROs do a great job in the schools. It was unfortunate at the time that they did not let us know who were going to teach these topics. So they expected us to sign a contract not knowing what we were getting for it. It's just like you go out and buy a house, the real estate agent say, hey, there's a house I want to sell you, Reverend, but we need you to sign a contract before we can show you the house. That just wasn't right for us to do. Our board of commissioners, our board of police commissioners stated that we wouldn't sign a contract like that. At the last meeting that we had with them, it was determined that they were going to go back and talk about reevaluating what they were talking about. Well, the next thing we knew, they did without us, they didn't sign the contract, and it was published in the paper sometime later, the topics that they were going to teach at that time, but they had already dismissed us from the contract, and if they had had that information prior to the contract, then it might have been something else that we could have done. None of our SROs at any other schools get training from the school. They're trained by our department. So that's why the break between us and the Hazelwood School District. We're more than willing to discuss this with them again. If they want to come back next year and rewrite what they've done, let us know what they want to teach our officers and who's going to do the instruction. We'll be more than willing to listen to them. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any more brief questions? Actually, I'm gonna start here, I'm gonna go here. Let me do that. I don't wanna squeeze through. Very brief.
Thank you. This is for Chief Cunningham. Captain Cunningham, I'm sorry. With talking about the safety in the community and all the gunfire, how much of that is gang related? How much is just deterioration? And what is the status? I think you talked about this the last time we were in a meeting. What is the status on gang activity in North County?
Yes. So I'm not gonna lie to you and say there's not a gang problem in North County, okay? My intelligence officers, that's primarily what they do. They're focusing on some of the gang activity. Social media, whether you're into it or not, they advertise a lot of their ways and what they're doing on social media. But they're not gonna say, it's not gonna be Tim Cunningham's page. They'll use other ways and try to identify them, but we can identify them that way. So to answer your question, yes, there are multiple gangs in North County. You try to go back to like the 80s, the Crips and the Bloods. It's not that. It's individuals that live in a certain area that they come up with a name. Some of the names are interesting, to say the least. But it helps us in the long run when they are posting stuff and that kind of stuff. Gunfire, are they the ones pulling the triggers? Yes. There's also a lot of other individuals that just think it's an okay idea to walk outside of their house and just start shooting up in the air, which it's illegal. But I'd rather have that than actually gang activity into some of the houses. And we could talk about, some of the drive-by shootings that have occurred recently. Several in one particular residence, and so we're trying to get out ahead of that. We know who's involved, and that's what we're trying to settle there as well.
Yes. My question has to do with the requirement that the county council has passed where a certain number of recharging stations for electric cars has to be built into any new construction for shopping centers or to rehab older ones. We in North County have a lot of rundown shopping centers that really could use a rehab, but this new requirement will add untold amount of cost. An average charging station is about $10,000. If you're going to try and rehab this empty Kmart up the road, you're probably going to have at least another $100,000 just in charging stations. Nobody in this area has a Tesla that needs a recharging station. Why did you guys vote for it?
See if that works. See if that works. See if that works.
Thank you for your question, sir, and I want to be elaborate and very upfront with you all. We cannot wait for the future to come and prepare for the future. And I understand the requirement could be an inconvenience, but there are conditions where some of those could be excused. But when we think about redeveloping James Home Mall, we think about the zoo in its development, we think about the possible development at Bale Fountain. One thing that I used to say is we seem so reactive about what happens in North County. We need to make sure that we are leading some of these charges, but leading them responsibly. And I say that because we have to have a balance. I can't guarantee you, sir, that there are Teslas in our community. We know that there is a fleet of cars, whether it's Ford, GM, that their fleet by 2032 will be 100% electrical. There are going to be vehicles in our community because they are existing now. And so what I'm saying is I'm not trying to put us out of the market where we can't compete, but I want to make sure that we are prepared for the future. In that same breath of building those charging stations in these new developments, I want them to invest in us for us to have a future, not to just give us status quo. And so I'm monitoring it, sir, make sure we have a fair balance. I'm not putting that on a mom and pop where they're just doing some renovations on their small business. But large developments that's coming, and they are coming. I don't want you to just give us something for today. I want you to make sure we're ready for tomorrow. And so that was some of my thinking in supporting that and doing some of that research. As I talked about some of the fleets, they're going to be coming out and be 100% electrical vehicles by a certain time period. That's going to come to our community. In addition to that, I just want to put this out there too. I want us also to be a part of that workforce development, to have that work come our way. So we do some of the work to create some of these charging stations. Now, what that green work may be in North County, I don't know. But I'm working with the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership and other workforce initiatives to say, we want green jobs. What are the green jobs out here? What can come to North County? Because remember, North County was built on a middle class community built on the what? Boeing and Ford and all of those places. But there is no Ford anymore. We all can't work at the Amazon Logistics Center and maintain our community. We need those jobs that's going to give us those $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 jobs to make sure that our community has those people to circulate that dollar in our community. And the way to do that, sir, is to be prepared for that cutting edge future. And so I will be monitoring to make sure that it's not out of sync, but there is a balance of preparing and being ready for the future and still not putting us out marketing ourselves to not be so we won't be competitive. And be able to sustain it. But I do appreciate your question and concern, but I want everybody to hear that we just can't fix today. We gotta be prepared for tomorrow, okay? Thank you all.
Just a brief comment before my question. With regards to speeding, don't forget passing in the turn lane, passing on the shoulder. All this stuff reads itself on and on and on, and it starts with, I believe, and I know it's a state issue, but we talked about the temporary tags and the sales tax, so I'll just comment on that. My question is, what's before the county council last night? The three items that were brought up. I want to know what Wesley, Bale, and the councilwoman think about the, I guess, becoming a felony if you're riding in a stolen car, catalytic converters, and the third item.
Shaking the doors.
Yeah, door handles. Thank you, sir. What Mr. Bell's take is on it, and also the councilwoman, and if the police would like to chime in on what they think will happen.
Taking my job.
Thanks for the question. I do want to say a couple of housekeeping things, because I don't know if I'm going to give another opportunity. I do want to make certain that we thank and acknowledge the organizers of this event. This has been great, informative, so could we give them a round of applause, please? Two Shantays back there. Obviously, our councilwoman who was on me about being here. I do have to push back though. Councilwoman Webb is always dressed so nicely. I refuse to believe she gets her clothes at Walmart. So, let's just be honest about that. So, one of the things that we did was we make a point to talk to and work with our law enforcement partners. This is a unique jurisdiction with 88 municipalities, 55 police departments, and so it is just imperative that we work together. So we created a Chiefs Advisory Committee so that we can meet every 6 to 8 weeks or so and make certain that what we're doing, they're signing off on, or at least giving their input. And one of the things that came back to us, not only at town halls, but through our law enforcement partners, Chief Gregory, is the car break-ins. And not only the car break-ins, but that they're getting more violent because there are more guns out. And so one of the things that we did was create an auto theft task force. So departments like St. Louis County, several municipalities around the county, so that we can start streamlining and sharing information. Because when one department comes in, they don't know what's happening across the county with another of the 55 departments. And so we dedicated 3 attorneys so that we could start recognizing that when Joe Smith is arrested, that we can match them up to what's going on in other places to see if maybe there is a ring or something that we need to address, because we all have been, I'm not going to speak for you all, but my car has been broken into at least 3 times, and I know how personal that is. And so it was important for us to make sure that we're addressing that. And so when we do have those cases come in, we can start crippling those rings, and we did that in October. There was one day when we had about 7 different departments come in, and we were able to issue 20 warrants. It resulted in about 11 arrests, already 4 convictions on a particular car theft ring. And so those are ways that that show how seriously we're taking it. And then with the second part of your question with the catalytic converters and the door, checking the doors, I think those are great ideas, but we do need the legislative support. And I know the county is looking at legislation, but it also has to be state support. So we're part of the executive branch. We can't create them, we can only enforce them, but we do want to lend our voices and support the council, as well as we had the St. Louis County Police Department had a press conference where we brought all our partners together under Chief Gregory's leadership. So we even had our state reps there so they could hear loudly and clearly that this needs to be addressed. So thank you for that question.
And Councilwoman Webb echoes that because this is a collaborative effort between Wesley's office and Councilwoman Webb, so they're on the same page with that. Do we have any additional questions? We'll take one more question. Oh, and that's all we have is one more question. Perfect. Oh.
This is a general question. I'm going to echo off of that gentleman back there. And we spoke about it, and I was about the tip tag. I can understand, the reason I'm saying it's such a big issue, because we see them 4 years. 4 years back. I mean, I used to ride on 30 days, but you know, we give a break. 4 years? Those people don't have insurance. When they hit the car, you got to pay for it. So we need to crack down on that. Second of all, who am I speaking to with this question? St. Louis County. I've asked the homeowners association of Barrington Down, because Old Hall Ferry going through Barrington Down is a racetrack. And you know, that's a residential area. Who do we talk to get speed bumps, going down Old Hall Ferry going through Barrington Down? Thank you.
I will try to make this a short answer. As Shante probably knows, I can go for about an hour on this topic. But I'm not. At this point, we don't use speed bumps. It's a tool that's in the toolbox, but it's not always the best tool. In fact, it's often not the best tool. So when it comes to speed bumps, yeah, I know we get a lot of requests for that, but it's not something that we usually use. You know, we're starting to look into using the other tools in the toolbox. We have a pilot project coming up that's going to demonstrate the use of the other tools, and we're hoping that then would lead to a more expansive use of them in neighborhoods. I guess I'm trying to keep it short. 20 seconds on why we don't like speed bumps. Okay. First off, speed bumps, if you're the house that the speed bump is in front of, you're going to hate it after about 2 days, because every car, regardless of speed, is going to go thump every time it goes over it. So, you know, it creates, you're basically substituting a noise problem for what was a speeding problem. It causes some issues with road maintenance. You know, right now our snow plows don't deal well with speed bumps. So that means either we're doing less plowing, or we're leaving slick spots, or we're tearing up our equipment a lot more. And then it can also have an impact on emergency response. You know, whenever we're trying to go to the school box, we do like to work with the emergency services to make sure that, you know, we're not going to cause more problems than we're solving. But, you know, the experience, well, you know, and this is pretty well nationwide, is that in a lot of areas, speed bumps end up causing more problems and expense than they actually solve.
And there are a lot of different traffic calming measures besides speed bumps, and I've learned like 1 million of them in the past 3 months. So maybe that would be something that we can talk about with the community and just explain to them those different options at some point. I missed a question over here, so we're going to take this young lady.
I just have a quick question for you. Actually, it's 2 questions. What are we doing about our homeless population here in North County? Maybe I missed that question. I don't know. I came in a little bit late, but I'd like to know what are we doing about our homeless population in North County? And is it possible that we could possibly clean up Newhouse ferries from Lucas and Hunt north to going back towards Lindbergh? It is really raggedy down that area. I've lived out in Hazelwood since 1970 something, and this is the worst I've seen it, and it looks bad.
Now, when you say clean up, are you referring to trash or are you referring to property?
Property and trash.
The first question about the homeless population?
Thank you, ma'am, for your question. So from the homeless perspective, so Captain Cunningham, once again, my friend that I call, or Shantae calls for me, when we have to deal with, especially at Jamestown. So we've had multiple instances where there's been homeless people or individuals at Jamestown, so we work with them. But we partner not just with the police department, we've also reached out to human services, right? I was about to say AJ, that's not the person. We partner with the Human Services Department as well, because we need to, it's just not a penalty or a law enforcement issue. These people need services and help. And as long as they're willing to take those services on, we want to offer it to them. One thing that I have been sharing, and as I'm learning in serving in this capacity, is that our population changed, right? A lot of shifts with that population that came from the city came north because it's demographically more similar to where they came from, right? But the services didn't migrate with that population. And so one thing that I've been working with all of the departments, specifically the Department of Health and the Department of Human Services, that we need satellite locations in District 4. And I'm being real specific about District 4 because people say, well, you have the health clinic on Airport Road and you have one in Pine Lawn. And I was like, do you know how far that is from District 4 and Spanish Lake and Glasgow and all of this area? And so I'm having those conversations so we can create, maybe that's a part of the development, the new development of Jamestown, wink, wink. But seriously, we want to make sure we bring some of those services this way. We need to use existing facilities for the short term, But we need to work with those current departments, and I've talked to them all, from the Ms. Green in the Department of Health, and also, both of those people whose name I want to call no longer is in the Department of Human Services, but I'm working with the Department of Human Services as well to come and find a solution to bring satellite services, wraparound services to North County. Until then, I just have to keep Captain Cunningham on speed dial, and then when I can't reach him, Shante always is successful. So but seriously, if you all find a person, or you see a person, or you just suspect, don't hesitate to call our office for that. That's what we're here to do. We are here to connect you all with services and come up with solutions. So, thank you. Did that answer your question, ma'am? She's gonna answer the second one.
And Chief Gregory is want to address the homeless population as well. 30 seconds, Chief.
In the last year, we've added a detective to our CIT unit, and that's strictly what he deals with is the homeless population. And in the last, year or so that he's been there, he has great success in working with human services to help find homes and residence for these homeless people, and he does a great job. Detective Creed is the one that works on that. So we're helping with what Councilwoman said about dealing with the homeless.
Great, amazing. Okay, so we're gonna do one last comment and then we're gonna close, okay? I'm sorry. So as far as the trash, so Mr. Marcellus addressed the vacant property. So that is something that we are working on because it didn't happen overnight. It's not gonna be taken care of overnight, but there are conversations that are being had right now and money that we are seeking to address that. As far as the trash is concerned, that's an ongoing issue. And as a resident, I go out there, I pick up trash on my own because I know that the County Problem Properties Unit, they not only just have your community or this small community, they have the entire unincorporated St. Louis County to take care of, and they only have 3 guys who are working to do that. So my call to action to us as residents is when we see trash, we can go out there, get some trash bags, and we can pick it up. We get together on a Saturday morning or a Sunday, and we just come together and we clean up our neighborhood. So that would be my suggestion. You can email me. I can help coordinate that with you and for you. But as far as trash, the minute we pick it up, they put it right back down. So we just have to kind of take action to pick it up.
And Councilwoman Webb has regular trash pickups, and if you sign up for WebForce, I'm gonna send y'all a link, and you can sign up. So when she does have those pickup days, you'll be able to help out. And shout out to Ms. Julie Griffin from Spanish Lake CDC. They have trash cans out in their neighborhood, and they have monthly trash pickups.
So, yes. Okay, Mr. Report.
Thank you very much. Make this very brief. I think it'll be a little long-winded at times, but I just wanted to compliment the organizers, Sergeant Holden, Shalonda, Councilwoman, and Shante, as well as particularly Captain Cunningham and Chief Gregory. I think that this is a very good meeting. It has been very productive. I think it's a very good first step in getting things back on the right track after the long period of COVID, which we're not out of yet. But again, I think it's been a very good meeting. I just want to commend you all. Thank you.
What a great way to close out. So I always have a call to action, and I kind of just did it again, but this is our community, you all. And so there are things that we could be doing as residents as well to make sure that these things are taken care of. So as I previously stated, if you see trash, let's just pick it up. You know, if there's a chip bag, I know it's inconvenient and it's tiresome, but we live here. They work here, their heart is big, and they care tremendously for our community, but we live there. So that's my call to action. We're going to have Dr. Witherspoon give some closing remarks, and then we are going to be done, okay? Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Let me commend those who organized this very, very candid opportunity this evening for us to dialogue. As a faith leader, I am a little concerned. I taught religion at SLU for 18 years, and I used to say to the students that the faith community, the church, is most important organization in the community. I'm not so sure of that anymore, because there are so many things that are happening in our community that seemingly at times the faith community is last on the agenda. I'm hoping with the faith in blue, that as you proceed, that we not be secondary nor tertiary, but that would be primary, as it used to be in the community. Because as one of the primary institutions, the faith community speaks to people. And if the people love their leaders, they listen. So as we move forward, as we have a plethora of things to do, I'm prayerful that it will not be last on the agenda, but that you will sit down with groups of people who have their congregation's ears and let them be a part of a success story for our community. It takes an entire village to raise a child. May the peace of God be with you, especially in this season of Thanksgiving, as we go forth together as a community. Thank you.
Okay, that ends our night. Thank you all for coming. If you have additional questions, please feel free to email anyone on this panel. Everybody's email